In this presentation, we will enter deposits from our bank statement directly into the register within QuickBooks Online. Here we are. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. In our guitar lessons and equipment practice file, I just added a little image here to try to make it a little bit more fun, which you can do if you just select this item here. You can add or upload an image, but we're going to concentrate now here on the deposits directly into the register. So we're going to do that on the left side. So we're going to go down to the accounting tab on the left side. We're in the chart of accounts up top, and we want to go to our checking account. And we're going to be dealing with the register. We'll be in here a lot. We're going to be dealing with the register, entering this information directly into the register. So here is our register. Here is our bank statement. So now we have our bank statement for the month of January, first month of operations. You can do this for any kind of month that you want to start with. Just be aware that as you enter the data, you want to enter probably for a full year. So if you're starting in the middle of the year, like it's a new company, then that's fine. Start in the middle of the year, no problem there. But if you're transferring the data from one system to another and you want to enter the data, then of course you probably want to compile it for tax purposes, and you're probably going to want to put a full year's worth of information in to do that. And it's easier to do that if you start at wherever the cutoff is at the beginning of the year. So just be aware of that. We're going to start here with January. Our strategy, oftentimes we're going to get a bank statement in paper format still, and that'd be fine. We could just highlight it, and we're going to do the same kind of process here as we would if we had a paper format. If you get a PDF format, though, that's quite possible that you get a PDF format of the bank statement, and we'll practice that as well. If you could put them on two separate screens, if you have two monitors, that's even better, because then you could separate them. I won't do that here because that could make any screen look small. But that would be the best, because then you can highlight as you go and enter the data. And all we're going to do is just go straight through this and enter the data and then highlight it and say it's in there. And if we do that, if we enter the beginning balance and of course all the detail of the deposits and checks, we will end up at the ending balance. We have to, because we're entering it directly from the system. If we did have bank feeds, remember, of course, then the exact same thing would basically happen. But in either method, we would still have to assign all deposits as sales and all checks to some kind of account. And so we'll get to the discussion of that. So even if you're using bank feeds, beware, understand, we still need to kind of understand this process, because we need to be able to assign these accounts to an account. All right, so we're going to start off with the beginning balance. You'll recall that we did not enter this 15,000 beginning balance. I'm going to start there. How are we going to get that into the system? So I'm going to go back over here and say, all right, the 15,000, we're basically going to say all these are going to be deposits. I'm going to have to make it a deposit because it's going to have to be an increase to the account. So I'm going to call this a deposit. We're going to put it in the system as of 01/01/19. Notice that's the quickest way you can put a date into the system. Tab says January 1st, 2019. I'm not even going to put a payee because I don't know who it came from. It was there before the system started. All I know is there's money in the account. It's going to be a deposit of 15,000. And you might say, well, you should find out of what that is. And the point is that if you want to know about that 15,000, you got to go to the deposit prior to this accounting system. This is where the cutoff is. That's the beginning point that we're starting from. Now remember that our basic assumption is going to be the other side, any deposit, the other side is going to be revenue, which is going to be sales in this case. But because this is our beginning balance, we're not going to put it to revenue, because it's not revenue in this period. It's from the prior period. So this is the one kind of tricky piece that we got to understand. Where's it going to go then? We're going to put it to the equity account. So notice it's going to go to expenses first for some reason, because QuickBooks is going to assume that's going to be the order we want first, because there's more expenses than anything else, rather than having the normal order of assets, liabilities, and equity. We're going to go down here to retained earnings, and retained earnings is the type of account that's going to keep rolling forward. It's going to be a permanent account. Now note, you could put it into the owner's investments as well if you wanted to break out the investment versus the retained earnings, but it might be useful to enter all of this into the same kind of equity account. So we're going to assume that 15,000 is earnings from the past that have accumulated over time. Also note that retained earnings is typically the name that we would use for a corporation rather than a sole proprietor, but it's the same type of account. If you wanted to go into this account and change it from a retained earnings to a name called capital account or something like that, which would be more appropriate for a sole proprietor, then you could do so and not have to change any other settings on the account. But we're going to keep it with retained earnings. Also note, as you enter this data, you may want to enter more memos and say, this is the beginning balance and whatnot, to give some detail into it. I'm not going to do as many memos, so we could just go forward. But memos are always good. Any detail you can go back to remind yourself what happened, that'll be good because it'll be in the detail as we go back. It'll give an audit trail. And then we're just going to say save down below, and that'll save the information. So here's our balance. We got a scroll bar over here. Here's our balance. And so here's just basically our check register. Now notice all the new items are going to be up top instead of down below. So you kind of have to get used to that. It makes sense that we have the new stuff up top, but it might be a little different than you're used to entering data into a checkbook. So here's our first item. There's our 15,000. Now we're going to go back to our statement over here. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm just going to make it a highlighted color like I would if it was pen and paper, and say, okay, we found that. It's yellow now. Now I'm going to find all of these, but by detail, by going down here and finding the individual deposits. Each of these we're assuming came from a customer, remember? So it's just going to be sales. I don't know who gave us the money, but it's a sale. And this could be multiple checks. This one deposit here could be multiple checks that we deposited into the bank at one time. Or if this is an electronic system and we got the deposits electronically, it might actually give us the information of who gave us the money, which would be great, because then we can actually enter the customers into the system. But again, we're going to tell our client, or if this is ourselves, that we're not given the detail on who gave us the money. We're just assuming it's a deposit so that we can make the financial statements correct, create the balance sheet and income statement by assuming it's a deposit. So we're going to do that. We're going to say, all right, 1120, go back over here. We'll enter another deposit. The date was the 5th. You could do that. I'm hitting the plus button to go up one at a time, so I don't have to re-type in the full date or hit this date icon. And then tab, I don't know, again, who the customer is, so I'm not going to put it there. I'm just going to say it, it's, and you could put something there like, customer, a generic customer if you want, but it's always going to be the same. So I'm going to go over here to deposit and just say the deposit was 1207. Note that deposit is a miskey. It should be 1122. I'm going to keep that as is. You can put it in there as the error, or you can put the actual deposit in there. The reason I want to keep it, however, is that when we do the bank reconciliation, we'll be able to pick up those problems. So we don't have to worry about them too much at this point. If we have errors right now, if we're going too fast or trying to explain things too much, then we'll go back in at a later time and fix it. That's what the bank reconciliation is for. Revenue or income type. So they call it income. Here's the account type. It's an income type of account. The system is calling it sales. Now again, if we're a service company, we might not use the term sales. It might be better to call it fees earned or revenue or just income. So you could go into the chart of accounts and just change that name, but just note the default that QuickBooks is using is sales, and as long as it's an income account, it'll be acting the same. So we're just going to, all right, that's fine, sales. Now, and note if you want to customize this as a bookkeeper, it can make you stand out too. If you want to make it, something other than sales, something appropriate to the company. If it's guitar lessons, call it guitar lessons. The companies appreciate that type of detail a lot of times. But whatever, it's an income statement account, whatever we call it, so sales will work. So we're going to say save, and that'll give us that. We'll go back over here and say, all right, we found that one, and we're just going to do that all the way down here. So I'm going to do this a little bit faster as we go. Just going to enter these deposits. The deposits are usually really easy to enter because we're just making the same assumption. We don't care who it came from. We don't even know unless they give us that information through the bank statement, in which case we'll put it in if we have it. But we don't really know. It could be multiple customers, and we're just going to enter it as sales. So next item then, we're just going to go, all right, next item is on the 7th. I'm hitting the plus button 1-2 times to get up to the 7th. I'm shooting tab to get to the second screen. Tab, tab to get to the deposit screen. The amount of 1207. Tab, tab. And then again, you could hit the drop down, but you can also, now that we've seen it, just type in SA, and there it is, sales, the income account. Select that and save. That's how fast we can start to enter this in. So it really, for a small client, doesn't take a lot of time to do this work. Even if we don't have bank feeds, we can do this pretty easily. But we're going to go back over here and say, all right, that one's done. Highlight, next item, same thing. We're going to go, all right, that's on the 9th, plus, hitting the plus item. I'm just going to go tabbing to the deposit side. 1030, tab. I'm going to type in S for sales, and I can even type in SAL, and then I'm selecting the down arrow on the keyboard to pick it. So see how that highlighted it here, and then I'm going to select tab. And the more you can do with the keystrokes like that, the faster it'll be. If you select enter on the keyboard now, it'll then save it for us. So the more you do, the less with the mouse, the little faster it'll be. So I'm going to go back over here and say, all right, we found that one. Done. Highlight it, right click, highlight. Next one on the January 10th. So we have the new deposit we have with the drop down. We're going to select this item is on the 10th. So we're going to say plus with the plus on the keyboard to get up to the 10th. And then we're going to say that the deposit happened for 910. Notice I tabbed through to get to the deposit. I'm hitting tab to get to this screen. This is going to be sales again, SAL. I can select the down arrow to get to the sales item and then tab. So that'll give us sales, and then I'm going to say save. So we'll save that item, and there's that. Next one, we're going to go back over here and highlight this. Right click and highlight. Now we're on the 850. We'll do this a little bit faster. We're going to go over to the 850. That'll happen plus to the 13. Tab to the deposit. This is going to be 850. Tab. Sales is going to be the item. We're going to have sales up top and say tab and then select the save. And this is going to be a bit repetitive until we get to there will be a difference here. So I'm going to go back to this item, highlight this. Once we get to that 50,000, it'll be something a little different. So we'll select that. Now we're on the 1,500. Back over here, that happened on the 15th, plus arrow twice. Tab to the deposit. 1500. Note if you make a data input error, or if I make a data input error, that's okay, because we'll find it on the bank statement when we do the reconciliation. So we're doing this kind of quickly. That's okay, because once we do the bank reconciliation, we'll see it. And I might actually do that on purpose at one of these points to so that we can see an error that we can then catch with the bank reconciliation. So we'll say sales, tab, and save that item. Then we'll go back over and say, all right, there's that one. Now we're on that 50,000. Now the 50,000, we're going to say, hey, that looks funny. It doesn't look like the other ones. I'm assuming that might be a loan or something like that, but we don't know. Or if it's our own books, we probably know, but we may not know how to record it. We don't want to stop there. We don't want to stop every time we have a question and call the client, call the accountant. What we want to do is enter all the data, not let it stop us, to go all the way through the bank reconciliation and then go back and ask questions at the end. So that's what we're going to do. And in order to do that, I'm going to open up a Word document and just take notes. We're going to take notes about questions. So I opened up a Word document. I named it Guitar Lessons and Equipment. Open items. That means like kind of the questions we have. So I might even put it here. And I basically highlighted this and then went to the Home tab styles and made it a title and then centered it. And then we're using the bullet points, Home tab graph or paragraph group. And we put bullet points here, and I'm just going to say, hey, there's a $50,000 amount, and we probably want the date too. It's on 1/16. It doesn't need to be complete sentences here. You know, this is notes. If we give it to the client, we want to put complete sentences. But this is just a question we're going to ask to the client. We could do it by phone. If we're going to do it by email, then of course we want to be as specific as possible, as professional as possible. But we're just going to say, for our own purposes, hey, there's a $50,000 on 1/16 and uncategorized income. That's where we're going to put it. We'll discuss that in a second. And we're going to say, hey, what is that? You know, is it a loan? We'll give suggestions. It looks like a loan, or maybe you put money in or something like that. We hope it's a big sale, right? That's what we hope it is, but it doesn't look like a sale because the sales aren't at 50,000. And then we're going to save that. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, Browse. It's going to go into the desktop. And it's going to go into our guitar folder. It's going to go into the docs file, 2019, and we're going to put it right here. Now I already have the item here, so it's going to be, I dated it 19.01.31. This is the year, the month, and then the day. So in case we didn't group it by year folder, which we have, so it's probably excessive, but if you don't group it by year, this might be a way to do it so that you can then organize things by year. And so we'll have that, and we should say open items, but I'll keep it at that. And we'll save that item. So we have that there. So that's going to be our question. Then when we go back into the system, I'm going to enter it into the system. I'm not going to let it stop us from moving forward. We're going to say this happened on the 16th. Tab, tab, tab. It's a $50,000 deposit. I don't want to put it into income. I want to put it somewhere else so that we can then kind of go back to it more easily. And QuickBooks, I think, has an account that they call uncategorized, which is nice. So if we scroll down, we see income down here, and then it's got this uncategorized income. That's perfect. So we're going to put it into there, and anything that we see in the financials under uncategorized, we can then go back into it and ask questions. So let's do that. Take a look at how we can then go and fix this once we answer our question very easily. So we'll say save, and then let's take a look at our financial statements, and we'll see how we can go fix this once we get the answer to our question. To do that, we're going to make a new tab up top. So we're going to go to our tab up top, we're going to right click on it, and then we're going to go to duplicate. So we want to duplicate this tab, and this is a great feature to have because now if we do that, we have the register on this side and another tab that we can work in that's not the register. Well, we can change it. It's the register right now, but we're going to change it. And so then over here, we're going to make a report. So we're going to go to our reports. We'll look more at reports later, but let's do this now. And we typically up top have our favorite reports, the financial statements, the profit and loss, or the balance sheet and the profit and loss, or the profit and loss being the income statement. We want to look at the income statement right now. So we're going to go to the profit and loss up top. We're going to change the dates to, I just always use the year we're working in, which is 2019. So I'm going to say 010119. Notice that's the shortest way you can enter this into the system. And once you hit tab, it'll then put the formatting for us to 12/31/19. And again, that's the fastest way you can kind of enter it in tab. It doesn't run the report until you say run report. So just make sure to run that report. So we'll run the report, and this is what we've had. We've got these sales. This is where all the normal stuff is going. If we select that item, it will then go to, you'll see all the deposits we've made. So there they are, looks great. That should match out to our deposits on the bank statement. If it doesn't, if we messed up on one, if we missed one, if we skipped something, that's okay because we'll find it when we do the reconciliation. So bear with me. For example, this one, we can see this one's been duplicated clearly here. So we're going to go back in that, and I'm actually just going to leave that as is so that we can fix it and find it when we do the bank reconciliation. So let's click on one of these. That'll take us to the input screen. Now, it didn't take us back to the check register notice. It took us to a bank deposit. And that's okay that it took us to a bank deposit because this is the input screen that QuickBooks just uses for deposits. There's the sales item. If we needed to change it, we would go there. If we need to change the amount, we would go here. I'm not going to do that now. Just note that's where it's at. And we'll close this back out. Now I'm going to go back up top, back to the reports. Now this second item, uncategorized, obviously that's our indication to us that anything in that account needs to be fixed. There's a problem. We need to fix it. We need to categorize it. So we can go in here, and this is a reminder to us. These are the items that should be on open items if we select it. And once we get an answer to it, then of course we'll just select this item, recategorize it from uncategorized income to whatever account it should go to. This looks like a loan. We're probably going to change it to loan payable. So we'll close that back out, and that's gonna be it. So we can keep moving forward, even reconciling the account. I went back to the list, even reconciling the bank account, even though we don't have all of our answers yet. And that's what we want to do. We want to keep moving forward, keep pushing forward. Now we'll go back to the tab on the left, back to our register tab, and we're going to go keep pushing forward. We're going to say okay, back to our bank statement. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this. We've found that. These three look normal again, so I'm going to enter those quickly. And then this 10,000, another question there. That one looks funny. So let's keep on entering this data. Well, not into the desktop version, but we're going to say this one is going to go onto the 18th. So the 18th, and we're going to say deposit on the 18th, 980. It's going to be sales, and we want the sales item, and then I'm going to save that. Go back to our bank statement and highlight that. Next one, 1230 on the 21st. So we'll change this to the 21st. Tab, tab, tab to the deposit side on 1230. Tab, tab. This is going to be sales, and that's the one we want. Sales and save. Next item, I'm going to select that, is 821 on the 23rd. So 23rd plus plus plus, or plus plus to the 23rd. I hit a minus to get back to 23rd. And then that's going to be for 821, I believe that is. I believe it was. And we're going to say this is sales. And sales is the one we want. And save. We'll find that one. And then again, now we have another item where we're going to say, all right, I don't know what this is. I don't know what that 10,000 is. Same routine. We're just going to go back over here to our notes. I'm going to say, hey, there's 10,000. There's 10,000 on 127. I'm not going to format or my wording doesn't have to be perfect here because this is my notes. We're going to have notes for the customer when we word the email. But right now I'm just jotting it down as I put this information in the system and push forward. So this is going to be in uncategorized income. And we're going to say, what is this? Is this, right? And it might say, well, it looks like a loan, maybe, or a deposit from the client or something like that. So I'm going to save this. I don't need to save as. I'm just going to add the note, and we're just going to push forward. We're going to say, all right, well, that happened on the 27th. I'm not going to call anyone, not going to call the client or call my accountant, see where to put that. We're just going to keep going forward and get all of our questions at one time so we can get them answered at one time. And that'll be the easiest, fastest way to do it. And so we're going to put this then into that uncategorized account. We're going to scroll all the way down and say, yeah, this is uncategorized. That's the one we want. Save and close, or just save. And then if I go back to the second tab here again, where our profit and loss is, and we refresh this report by running it again, we'll note now we have two items in the uncategorized. If we select this item, we've got the 50 and the 10. We're going to have to redo those two, but we know exactly where they're at because we know once our questions are answered, going back to the report, this account should be 0 once we figure out where those go properly. So then we're going to go back here and we'll just finish this up. We're almost there. We're going to say there's that 10,000 and then we have one more item. So that's the 640. So we're going to go back over and say that this happened on the 29th. So 29, and this is going to be a deposit. It's going to be for 640, and we're going to say that's sales. So it should be this sales item, tab, and save. And so there we have it. So now our deposits have been entered. So if we entered everything correctly, note that just because this is the first month, I'm going to select this and highlight it. It should tie out basically to the 15 and the 70. And that should always kind of be the case, or it should always be the case no matter what month, right? It's our beginning balance that we would start with, plus the deposits that we've entered so far, 70,290. So we can kind of give ourselves a check as we go. If we go back over here and say, all right, our balance then should be, if everything was done properly, which it's not, should be minus this number. It's a little bit off. Why is it off? 85375. It's a little bit off. So we can go back and kind of figure that out right now, which is kind of like a reconciliation process at this time. And you can do that as you go. It's probably a good practice to do that. We're going to wait to find that problem when we do the bank reconciliation, however. So that's when we'll find it, and that'll give us some examples on how to do the bank reconciliation. So any problems right now, that's okay. Bank reconciliation, that's why we did the problem, totally on purpose. And then if we go to the second tab up top, and we look at our profit and loss, you can see the information on the profit and loss. This is generating the report. This is what we're going to need at the end of the year to help report our taxes, of course. And then if we select the right click on this tab, duplicate this tab, and go to the reports on the bottom to take a look at the balance sheet is our objective now. And then go to the balance sheet, changing the dates up top from 01/01/19 to 12/31/19. This is the full year we're going to work in. Run the report. We have now the checking account up top. This is the only account that we're basically dealing with right now. It's all cash. And then we have the other side, which is going to be retained earnings, where we put that beginning 15,000 into, and then the net income, which is all basically just equity account. So this is all part of equity. The net income, in other words, will roll into the retained earnings. Net income is how we relate the income statement to the balance sheet to the accounting equation. So note that this is the detail. What you really need as a small business is, of course, going to be the income statement. That $70,375, by the way, should be reflected on the profit and loss. So if we go back to the profit and loss and we scroll down, notice it's different. And I'm going to say that maybe that's because we didn't refresh the report. So I'm going to go ahead and run the report again. And then there it is. There's the $70,375. So if you see some discrepancies there, then make sure to refresh the report, run the report again. And so that's how the income statement is tied into the balance sheet. The income statement is, of course, the activity. That's going to be us reporting our income, which we will need to report for taxes, no matter what type of entity we are using. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.